of the 5th edition. Join our various gaming groups as we play the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons. And maybe just hang out and chat about gaming in general. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, assigned to Ragnarok Story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and RPGpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
So, John, Scott, John.
Hi, Scott.
John's a fellow D&D player, GM, and book writer who I've been trying to get to Tuscon, by the way, Scott. Scott, he is one of my D&D players, longtime friends, and part of Tuscon, so I totally just want to throw that out to both you guys. So, John, Scott, John, this is your first time doing RPGaDay. So, I've shared you the picture. So this is 2022. RPGaDay is a dealio that's been going on for now 9 years, of basically a way of sharing the good vibes and the good feels that we have for tabletop role-playing games, which I know both of you guys have got because you both like tabletop RPG games. And
yes, sir.
Each day of the month has a prompt. So today's, as the first RPGaDay of 2022, and by the way, totally hashtag RPGaDay2022 on all your social media stuff that you do for RPGaDay, so that way everyone can go on and just Google hashtag RPGaDay2022, and we can all find each other's vlogs, blogs, podcasts. Most folks, I've actually seen some folks that have done artwork for RPGaDay, which is cool.
I've got a secret. I only use Facebook. I've tried Instagram, I've tried Twitter, and I have accounts, but sometimes I can't even log on because my A, I've forgotten the password, or B, my account was inactive for so long it was shut down, and I'm like, oh God, So I admit I do everything on Facebook because it's easy, it's simple, and yeah. But
yep.
After 14 years on Facebook, I recently had a catastrophe. I don't want to get into this. So okay, guys, what's the topic? What are we talking about?
So for RPGaDay 2022, as we are on August the 1st, the topic is, who would you like to introduce to RPGs?
Forgive me, I'll say it. How about pretty 20-year-old ladies?
Hey,
there's a lot of them playing.
There's a lot of them playing. I mean, Scott knows a lot of my gaming groups in person, and I've got a lot of the ladies gaming in my groups because,
Finally, for decades it was a men only game, and if one gal, especially a pretty gal, suddenly joined, you had guys fighting over that pretty gal, over her character or over her or whatever the issue was. Finally, only in the last 10 years have women begun to start playing D&D. Now, my books, prod, promo, my books are very powerful.
What's the name of them? Doesn't count as a promo unless you say the name of the book.
This is true, because Scott doesn't know your work yet.
Okay, Scott. First off, my books have very strong female characters. In fact, many times I'm told my female characters actually steal the show. James can verify that. Now, my book, okay, first off, my last name is spelled R-I-E-D. Everybody misspells it. So if you go on Amazon and go to the books department, and type in my full name, John Paul, and Paul, the usual spellings, Ried, R-I-E-D, you'll come up with my books. My books, the Medford Family Chronicles, they're 4 volumes, Reckless Ambitions, Capricious Deities. The third book is Pivotal Ruckus. The 4th book is Academic Mayhem. My 5th book, which is a new series, Palomar Legends and Heroes, Unexpected Entanglements. Now, each book is very different, and I'm very proud of the fact that anyone could read any of my books and still get a good story out of it, and not necessarily miss much if they didn't read the previous books. But anyway, Scott, you can find me on Amazon.
Sounds great. So, as far as who I think who I would like to introduce to D&D, I would say librarians. Although a lot of librarians already know about it, a lot of them don't. And if librarians knew more about D&D, they'd probably let groups where they have problems meeting in their homes meet in the library rooms. And that would be a great thing for everybody.
That would be awesome.
Now, I don't know about other places, but I've tried Phoenix libraries. They don't like D&D because it never fails. One bonehead shows up drunk, or there's one rowdy disagreement, or players in even one of the meeting rooms get a little too loud and somebody complains. Then they say, nope, we don't want any more D&D games in here. Or the meeting rooms in the libraries, at least in Phoenix, cost money. I had a great friend, I still have him, a good friend in Glendale, Arizona, with a big dining room, big table, plenty of room for gaming. The problem, though, is now I'm living in Mesa. I'm literally like 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Like, it's literally across town for me to get there. And factor in travel time and then setup time, and then 5 or 6 hours at least of playing. I can only do it on days off, and it just wears me out. So someday I will get a bigger apartment where I will be able to get a nice big table and then finally run games. These are the obstacles I've been encountering here in Phoenix and Mesa.
I mean, on the plus side, for Scott's point of librarians, I will totally point out that Kelly's mom, Sandy, and Kelly's sister, Carrie, both worked for the U of A library, and both are gamers, and both are awesome gamers. And I love the idea of reserving the library rooms, because way back in the 90s, back when I was a young whippersnapper, I used to actually try to get rooms here in Tucson for the library. And when you could get them, because usually our library system, the rooms were booked up super, super far out, because everybody and their brother, because they were free rooms. All you got to do is get to the website, get a library card, and sign up for it. And you can try to reserve a room. Which,
right. And I'm glad you guys had connections. I'm glad you guys knew people who could control that. Yeah.
Oh no! Back in the 90s, that was way before I ever met Kelly, her mom, and her sister. So that was just me hitting up the library system's website for the free reservations, which you had to do like 6 weeks in advance at the very bare minimum for a room. But we got really lucky. Whenever we reserved rooms, you get a nice private. You get the privacy for a good group. But usually, most of the rooms we have here in Tucson are big presentation-sized rooms, like you'd see at a convention type of deal. So it's one of those of you feel bad unless you get like 3 groups going. Which back in the 90s, when I really was doing the hardcore D&D stuff, mostly it was actually Palladium and Vampire that I was doing back then. Talk about getting weird looks when you go as an RPG group. Why is everyone in black and trench coats in the middle of the summer? Don't ask questions you won't understand.
Yeah. Oh boy, I don't get me started. I am 56. I started playing D&D way back in 1978. So I'm willing to bet that I'm the old man of the group here. Scott, may I ask your age? I know James.
I'm actually 57.
What?
I'm actually 57.
Oh my goodness. Okay. By the way, I'll be 57 next month. So okay, we're the same age roughly. Okay.
And totally for my answer for the who would you like to get into RPGs, I'm going to totally go for the very diplomatic answer, especially for someone who runs a podcast and runs way too many games. I want everyone to play RPGs. I will totally admit that I am totally glad and guilty at the same time that I am guilty of somebody gets that curious look when they see a group playing, and they do that look down their nose to try to figure out what's going on. And I totally have no problem saying, do you want to sit and watch? I can totally swap up an NPC for you to play really quick. I mean, I joke that Sunday when we were at Tucson Games and Gadgets playing our normal Daggers of Freeport game, we actually, while Golda and Carrie were going to use the ladies' room, all of a sudden we're expecting them to come back with snacks, and this new person pops his head in, and he says hi, and we say hi because we had the private room, and then all of a sudden Golda pops up and says, "Hi, this is someone I just met, and he was asking us about RPGs while we were in line at the bar getting some stuff, and can he watch us?" And it's like, yeah, you can totally come in and watch us. I mean, it's funny because on our podcast episode we recorded it, and we actually recorded the whole, this is RPGs, this is the introduction, this is how it kind of plays out, because he's fascinated by it because he's watching all these different groups playing this weekend, and he's just like, I don't know how to get started. And the biggest thing is just ask. If you see someone in the RPGs, ask. I mean, because back when I was really getting into it in the 80s, there wasn't a lot of people who had active groups. And it was one of those, you had the secret catchwords. You say the catchword in public and somebody's like, do you roleplay too?
Thank you, Stranger Things.
Yes, shows like Stranger Things have totally been a positive influence in RPGs. I mean, the opposite of Mazes and Monsters.
Yes, and one day Tom Hanks will be held accountable, and he will do a movie supporting Dungeons and Dragons somehow. He has to atone for his sins, and that but anyway, I agree with you in principle, James, that anyone interested you should talk to. I do that when I'm selling my books, but the only thing I'm worried about is, are you sure that guy wasn't interested in the girls, and he just wanted to try to, see if he could score with the girls, and okay, I'll pretend like I'm interested, and
Oh no, he was definitely a nice young man and definitely interested in the actual game mechanics and things. But yes,
I would normally say to anyone, I would say, get yourself a player's handbook and find yourself a group. That's the way to do it.
Yep. And honestly, that's the best way to do it. And just remember, when you buy that player's handbook and look into it, it is not really a book meant to be read from page 1 to 360. It's a reference book. So totally read up on the player, how to make a player character. Totally read up on the game rules. Don't expect to memorize it because you're going to be at a table full of people who know the rules. So they will totally help you, because sometimes even the hardcore players don't know all the rules, because nobody can know all the rules.
And with all the additions out there, and
yep.
It took me so. I played first edition until only about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and then I was familiar with 3.0 and 3.5. They're a lot like Pathfinder, and my big gripe with Pathfinder, don't get me started, but my big gripe with Pathfinder is you walk down a 10-foot hallway and you have to roll to see if your bootstrap snaps. Too many rules and stuff like that. I'm a great believer in what Gary Gygax used to say, that whatever you do, don't tell the game masters and players that they don't need any rules.
Shh, that's the big secret. There are no rules.
Another way to get people in, simply get them while they're young. there's so many people out there with kids and grandkids. They got to be a certain age. Maybe I'm a purist. One thing I did not like about the Stranger Things episode, the first season of Stranger Things, I think the kids were too young. They were in middle school, and they were the age of kids that I did not want to play with. I'm sorry.
Easily
I think
distracted age.
Yeah, and ooh, fireball, fireball, fireball. That reminds me of that famous LARP video with the guy running through the woods yelling, "Lightning bolt, lightning bolt!" And I'm like, oh. Anyway, so yeah, I say if the kids are older than 13 or 14, then yeah, that's when you get them.
Mm-hmm. When they still have that imagination and they're willing to play,
Right.
just the spirit of play, not the sit at the table play, but just that willing to just play with ideas, play with concepts, get out there and really share with their imagination with other people without being too guarded and reserved.
Now, there's something I got to say here, James and Scott, and I hope you'll bear with me. Now, the new Dungeons and Dragons movie coming out with Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez. Now, okay, we know that most D&D movies in the past have always ended up unmitigated train wrecks. Either they did not have the special effects to pull it off, or the people who made the movie just had no clue what D&D really was about. Now, I have seen the clips for this new D&D Honor Among Thieves, and I got to admit, I like what I see. Now, granted, it might end up another train wreck, but I'm hoping not. I like the owl bear that I saw. I like the displacer beast they briefly showed. I liked what I saw, and okay.
I definitely am. I'm not getting too excited yet, but I'm definitely hopeful. It's one of those ones. I know, like, Kelly was definitely not excited when she heard Chris Pine was involved in the project, but because he's an okay actor. I mean, he's not great. He's okay, in my opinion.
He's a pretty boy, yeah. But what appeals to me about this movie is the idea of honor among thieves, because let's face it, guys. Whenever I've played D&D and whenever I've had groups, no matter what the class is, no matter what the race is, everybody ended up a thief.
Yep. Regardless of what class background, they basically are kicking in the door and stealing the stuff. It's what D&D kind of devolves into.
Do you remember actually the person who came up with the hobo reference?
Oh, the murder hobo reference.
The murder hobos, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And, anyway, all I can say is that, like I say, I'm hoping that this new D&D movie will not be an unmitigated train wreck like the others have been.
It's good that they got a budget. That's the one thing I'm excited for. We're seeing a good budget is the first step.
What do we need to talk about before we wrap up?
So just make sure when you get on social media that you join in for the RPGaDay for 2022. Okay. Make sure you share the hashtag so that way folks can find it, especially if you do a blog, vlog, social media post, even a picture, or, it could totally be a picture of, hey, I want to get this group, and you can show a picture of Stranger Things, and I want to get young kids involved in gaming because, damn it, the next generation is how we get gaming to keep going. And remember, all of us gray-bearded old folks gotta accept the new kids play the game in their own new way. I actually joke with some folks because I've actually heard some folks complain that they're not playing it right. And I'm like, guys, they're playing it like they can because they don't know any other way. Get them into your gaming group and teach different play styles.
If you want younger than 14, the answer's simple. Magic the Gathering. Here are your stupid cards. Here's your blue magic deck, your white magic deck, whatever, And
actually, no. What you need to do is, because years and years and years ago, I actually was able to get the library room, but the trade-off was we had to accept everybody.
Yep, and
And
that's important.
yeah, so what happened was that us with our gaming group would basically sacrifice a volunteer, and we'd rotate every week, and they'd get the young folk. So what we'd do is it'd just be a simple campaign. So yeah, you've got young people going fireball, 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 but you've got to remember that the kids these days are used to online RPGs. That's what they know. So one of the things back then, before the RPG online even came out, one of the things we do that was really important is that we, out of the 3 hours or so of time we had at the library, we made sure that we spent the first 30 minutes actually talking about character and what type of character they wanted and what they, and what they were like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and this is why I desperately need James's help and probably your help, Scott, because I have from the moment it started, I have disliked online gaming. The whole point of D&D for me was to get your friends together. Yes, I know we're all going to infect each other with COVID, and we're all going to die from monkeypox and the super germs that's going to kill us. But I admit I'm not. I need to get yanked into the online gaming because now Scott, please take a look at my books. You can actually read sample chapters on Amazon. You can actually look at the back covers. You can see how all of my whole world of Palomar is from my own homebrew D&D campaign. And
have you heard of Lit RPG?
What?
It is an awesome genre.
Lit RPG. It's specifically a genre of books that are basically about campaigns that started off kind of as RPGs, and then their stories kind of from that point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I would recommend you read my books. I'm actually applying for jobs. Some of them are in Tucson with the state of Arizona. If by some miracle I get an Arizona state job and they ask me to relocate to Tucson, then great. I will come to Tucson and I will immerse myself in everything. Tucson, Tucson Comic-Con, and I'll say, hey guys, give me a location and a table. I'll run a game for you. Now, I don't know what it's funny. My reputation is interesting. I had players stick with me for like 2 or 3 years. The only reason why they left was they all got so powerful that they wanted private sessions. Like, oh, can you run my character with his own adventure for like 4 hours? And I'm like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Still there?
And well, anyway, I'm just saying that I'm told whenever I start up I'm very fortunate. Whenever I start up a new game, I usually have like 7 or 8 players, and that's as large as I go. Are you still there, Scott?
Yeah, you were kind of breaking up there for a second, John.
Oh, I'm sorry, I talk too much. Anyway,
it's okay.
What didn't you get? I was talking how I've been very fortunate that whenever I've started up a game, I have 7 or 8 players all ready to jump in.
So we got most of it. It's just that you were kind of choppy there for a second.
Okay.
I totally think it's the internet god saying it's probably getting close to a good place to wrap up.
Okay. Yeah. And my computer does not like Skype. It loves Zoom, but it doesn't like Skype. I don't know why. Well, hey, Scott, delighted to meet you. Please take a look at my books online. James can tell you a lot about me. James and I have worked together for several years now. And James, can't wait to see you. I will get down to Tucson and Tucson Comic-Con, maybe not in 2022, but let's talk 2023. And I'd love to have fun with you guys in Tucson.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have to talk about it because, alrighty, guys, I definitely want to say thank you for jumping on, doing the first day of RPGaDay 2022, and I'm definitely hoping to see some posts on the Palomar site too for RPGaDay 2022. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yes. And I will go on Facebook and see what I can come up with. Absolutely. Anyway, guys, joy and peace. Thank you for inviting me. All of this sounds awesome. Scott, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay. James, great to chat with you. God bless, and keep playing.
Yep, and more importantly, introduce your friends and family to gaming. That's the big takeaway for today. For hashtag RPGaDay 2022.
Hashtag RPGaDay 2022. Got it.
All right, have a good night, guys, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to D&D Journey of the 5th Edition, a member of the Creative Play and Podcast Network. Please follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/CPPN to never miss a show or stream.